Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, shills, dustlancers, peasants, vassals. I am a useful idiot, and today I want to talk about the big lie about gross domestic product, which is the big lie about U.S. economic growth, which is the big lie about the United States not being in a depression. The United States is in a depression, and this very distortion of gross domestic product and U.S. economic growth is at the very heart of an argument that we are in a depression and that the U.S. has been in a depression since the economic crash 5 years ago. And I'd like to take credit for coming up with this idea, but alas, I cannot. This is from Karl Denninger, and this is quite a revelation that even Bill Still was surprised to have revealed. So this is quite a shocker for those of us who are finally realizing this fact. And that basic fact is that QE is factored into gross domestic product. So that means the last 4 or 5 years, the gross domestic product of the United States has been completely distorted, utterly and completely distorted for 4 or 5 years. All the QE that's been done since Bernanke unleashed it over these last 4 or 5 years, all of that has factored into gross domestic product. Give you an idea how distorted that is. Let's take a look at the facts. So what they're saying now is that gross domestic product increased at an annual rate of 2.8% in the third quarter of 2013. And of course, this has everyone excited again about the recovery. And these statistics come from the Bureau of Economic Analysis. So what this tells us is that either the Bureau of Economic Analysis, which is full of bureaucratic economists, academic economists, has either overlooked this glaring fact or purposely omits it in order to keep these government reports so rosy. And so when you dig a little deeper, as Denninger points out, the Fed creates $85 billion a month in GDP, which is technically spent, and this is factored into gross domestic product. But if you take the supposed $196.6 billion of economic activity in the United States in the third quarter, and then you subtract the amount of QE from that same third quarter, $255 billion, then obviously you come up with a shortfall of roughly $60 billion. And that means we have negative economic growth. And so the economy shrank. So if you extrapolate this back for the last 4 quarters of this latest round of QE, that means we've been in a recession, and the economy shrank for the last 4 quarters, which officially and technically makes this a recession. So all these people that have said we're in a recession have been right all along. But I'll take it a step further, because if we have 4 more quarters of recession and negative economic growth, then that qualifies as a depression. So if you extrapolate further, that for the last 4 or 5 years we've had several rounds of QE, and it's the only thing holding up the entire system, and that the economy actually shrank for these last 4 quarters, and the economy shrank during numerous other quarters over these last 4 or 5 years of supposed economic growth, and actually it was negative. So that means technically we have been in a depression for the last 4 or 5 years, and this isn't even factoring in the idea that every time we move forward and look back at the facts, they always revise the figures down as far as economic growth. But this takes it a whole step further. So there we have it. The big lie about economic growth, the big lie about gross domestic product. All this time, all this fake money being created by the Federal Reserve is artificially inflating us out of a depression, or the illusion that we're out of a depression and into a recovery. There we have it, the big lie, part of all the other big lies. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.